I always consider myself to be lucky to be part of this industry because on a Tuesday morning like today at about 10 o'clock, instead of heading into the office like many of you I'm guessing, I'm actually out here alone with a set of B-roads ahead of me, as well as this as my company. This is the BMW 218i Gran Coupe, and of course I cannot be having all of the goodies by myself, so I'll be taking you on for a short walk around and then we'll be heading off for a drive together. First of all, can we just take a moment to really appreciate how good this colour looks on the car. It's called Storm Bay and it sort of has a bit of the Nardo grey look to it. I think that on a car that it's already so shouty, this kind of more slightly mellower colour really does bring it down a notch, but also at the same time give it a bit of class, and really, I mean, the results just speak for itself. So in Malaysia, the 218i Gran Coupe is only available with the M Sport trim, which gives it a more aggressive looking front and rear bumpers. This one here looks a little bit like the M340i, I think. And this specific unit is also equipped with the M Performance parts package, which includes this blacked out front grille looking like the M340i again. Carbon fiber wing mirror covers. These are actually the most expensive items in the package because I think these are actual carbon fibers. And over at the back here, the M Performance parts package also include this gloss back spoiler as well as the carbon fiber exhaust tip finishes. But aside from that, this is pretty much what you get when you buy a 218i Gran Coupe here in Malaysia. The M Sport package is standard, as are these 18-inch M Sport alloy wheels. Other standard features include the automatic LED headlights, no automatic high beam though. Over at the back, there's also the LED combination tail lights. So the 218i Gran Coupe here in Malaysia actually does have a foot release function for the boot, but it's actually not a powered tailgate. It's more of a spring mechanism, so it just springs open. Boot space is rated at 430 litres, and because there's no spare wheel behind here, there's only a tyre repair kit, you get a false floor with some additional space down here. Now, because it's not a powered tailgate, you still have to close it by hand, but really I think it's okay on a small car like this. So heading inside, just check out these frameless doors. I think this really sells the car, especially for those who are looking for sort of like a coupe lifestyle. And also a quick shout out to the seats here before we head in. These are the M Sport seats and they are really comfortable. And also only BMW really does this, which is the side bolster control. These are a lifesaver when you're doing a little bit more of a spirited driving along the B roads where we are heading to later. And the seats are just really comfortable, Dakota leather, and I think they look really good, especially with this small little M Sport trims over here, the blue cross stitching. Yeah, just these are really premium stuff on a supposedly entry-level BMW model. Now, seated in the driver's seat, the first thing you realize behind this M Sport steering wheel, which are really chunky by the way, are this analog instrument cluster with a 5.1-inch multi-info display. And I really do think that this worked really well, especially if you look at the normal BMW digital instrument cluster. They really don't provide any more functionalities than these do. And I think with the, I think they call it the black glass loop, where it sort of looks like it's just floating in mid-air. I think this looks really well and it works well, no complaints at all. Over at the side here, this is a 8.8-inch touchscreen infotainment display, and the best part about this is its wireless Apple CarPlay connectivity feature. So look at this, this is now connected. I don't have to connect my phone into the infotainment system itself. It's just sitting there charging in the wireless charging dock, and I can still use the Apple CarPlay as standard, no difference at all. If you really do still want to use your wires though, there's a normal Type A USB ports over here, one Type C within the center console armrest, and over the back there are two more USB Type C ports over there. Other interior highlights include the dual zone automatic climate control, These ones are pretty much directly carried over from the 3 Series. The black leather seats, as we've said before. And another thing I want to highlight on the interior are actually these aluminium weave looking trims over here, as well as on the side doors, both front and back. In the daylight, they just look like regular BMW trims, but at night though, they actually do light up through the inside of these trims in a very sort of slim slits. They look really cool at night. So yeah, I think in terms of interior features, you really are not being shortchanged, even though this is being labelled as the new entry-level BMW sedan you can buy. Now before we head out on our drive, I just want to give you a quick idea of the space you can get at the back of a 218i Gran Coupe. Now usually on a coupe or a Gran Coupe-like vehicle like this, the headroom will be a bit more limited because of the sloping roofline. This here is, yeah, I mean it's still the same, but I think this is just about acceptable. There's about 2 more fingers left of space up there. I'm about 175 cm tall. And I think if you just slouch back a bit, I think you'll be more than comfortable to sit for slightly longer journeys. And in terms of knee room, I think this is more than enough as well. There's about 1 knuckle of space to the seat in front, which is adjusted into my usual driving position. And these cutouts at the back of the seats really do help with the knee room as well. And in terms of storage, this here is just a normal elastic mesh for the seat pockets. And on the door bins, this is actually surprisingly large. I think you can fit a large bottle in front here, another smaller 500ml bottle back here. And just to give you an idea of how the back looks like, the space that you can get, and the door cuts, like I said, the trims here, they light up at night, looks really cool. And yeah, I think generally if you're a small family with small kids sitting back here, no complaints at all. You can perhaps fit 2 larger size adults for longer journeys. Space really isn't that much of an issue back here. And over here, this is something all Malaysians can appreciate, which are the rear aircon vents. Okay, first of all, I think I really want to talk about the engine a little bit. Underneath the bonnet here, you'll find a 1.5 litre turbocharged 3-cylinder engine putting out around 140 horsepower and 220 Nm of torque. In terms of numbers, the power output of the 218 Gran Coupe, if I'm being honest, really isn't that impressive at all. Even the base model Proton X50, both are also a 3-cylinder turbocharged 1.5 litre. That car has more power than this. But when you take this car out onto the roads to drive, I don't think you'll really be complaining that much about power. Can I do with more power? I think yes, definitely, but am I really lacking in power? That I don't think so. And I think a lot of that has to come down to the 7-speed wet dual clutch transmission in this car. Shifts are smooth and fast, but more importantly, they are also intuitive. So whenever you just put your foot down, the car will downshift and put you at the maximum torque range, and you'll just pull and pull, and you'll be really surprised how fast this car can go without you even realizing. Even though the 218i Gran Coupe doesn't come with gear shift pedals behind the wheels, while driving through the B-roads just now, I don't think I've ever once felt the need to really shift gears myself. And that's because when you put the car into sports mode, the throttle becomes so responsive and the gearbox becomes so fast that really when you just put your foot down, the gearbox will just drop a gear or two, and it's very eager to hold on to higher rev ranges. So when you're coming out of a corner, you can just pin your foot down and the car will pull you out of the corner. But the thing that really impressed me about this engine is really how refined it actually feels. There are virtually no vibrations in idle or when you're driving at higher loads. And I think the only time that you can realize that this is a 3-cylinder car is when the auto start-stop feature kicks in and you sort of feel like a weird jerkiness like when you start any other 3-cylinder cars. But you can always turn off the auto start-stop feature, and to be honest, it's always been off for the past few days I've been driving this car. But I know what you all want me to talk about, which is the fact that this is a front-wheel drive vehicle. And as a old school BMW fan, I've also asked myself the same question over and over again. Can this really be considered a BMW if it's only front-wheel drive? And you know what? I'm actually inclined to say yes, and that's because just how fun this car really is. And that's because when you take it out onto curvier roads like the ones that I'm on right now, the first thing you realize is just how sharp and direct the steering is. And to complement that, there is also barely any body roll, giving you a lot of confidence to go through corners at higher speeds. The grip level on this car is also quite incredible. Now you definitely realize that this is a front wheel drive car, don't get me wrong. Like when you load up the car, you definitely feel that there's a lot more going up in front, and sometimes you can even feel a bit of a torque steer going on. But the way that BMW has tuned this suspension is, I think, nothing short of incredible. You do feel a little bit of the iconic BMW characteristics where it just sits in when you try to come out of a corner. It sort of, for some reason, feel a little bit like a rear-wheel drive car. BMW says that they've done some software trickery to sort of reduce the understeer. I think it's actually quite apparent when you drive it a bit faster through the bands. And when you pair it to a responsive powertrain combo like this one on the 218i, the amount of fun that you can get on B-roads like this is really quite something. And at the end of the day, it's really about fun, isn't it? Who cares about all of these technicalities, if it's front wheel drive, if it's rear wheel drive, or all wheel drive even? When a front wheel drive car can give you that much fun, I think this one really deserves to be called a BMW. Now, even though I had quite a lot of good things to say about the car, there are still a few nibbles here and there that I just have to point out. While these suspensions do work pretty well on the B-roads just now, on the highways, all of the road imperfections just get transmitted directly into the cabin, and as a result, you just feel very fatigued when you drive it for a long distance. For example, on this bridge, all of the bridge interconnects just turns into jolts, and it sends it right through into your spine, and it is really tiring to drive this car for the long run. Now, as an extension to that, because the suspension is so firm, and also because of the tires, which are of the run flat variety, the road noise does get transmitted pretty severely into the cabin. I'm driving about 60 kilometers right now, and I'm not sure if you can hear that, but the tire noise is actually quite loud in here. Everything else about the NVH is really quite good. Wind noise is decent, especially considering that this is a frameless door. Engine vibrations is virtually none, like I've said just now. You really don't notice that it is a 3-cylinder engine, but the road noise and the harshness of the suspension really does take quite a lot away from this car. But at least on the highway, you still get all of the driving assistance features to help take off the load. On this car, you get pretty much the whole package except for the adaptive cruise control. I found that the lane change assist as well as blind spot monitor particularly useful when I'm driving on the highway or on the city roads, and especially if you know those Malaysians who don't particularly like to give you the way when you're trying to switch lanes. Having the steering wheel vibrate to notify you of someone in your blind spot, I think that's really convenient. Anyway, that's about it guys. I hope you enjoyed the video as much as I've enjoyed making it. As usual, leave a like down below and comment maybe telling us if you think that the 218i Gran Coupe should be considered as a full BMW car. It'd be quite interesting to know your thoughts. And as always, subscribe to our channel for more content like this. And if you like what we're wearing, do check out our merchandise store at AutoBuzz.shop. And until next time, this is Woon signing out.